Good morning, welcome. My name is Lisa Shea, and every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we do all sorts of fun projects to help explore our creativity and get our minds relaxed and mindful and full of inspiration. So what we're going to do this week is called a 3-color challenge. And you can do this with any kind of art supplies you want. So you can use crayons or magic markers or colored pencils or acrylic paints or watercolor paints or oil paints or anything at all. Pastels. Anything that has colors. And heck, I mean, you could use charcoal and just go for different shades of gray if you wanted to. But the idea here is that you randomly choose 3 colors without any sort of preconception or selection criteria, and these colors could work together well, or they could be sort of strange colors to go together, and then you see what you can make out of it. So I'm going to do this with watercolors, pencil and pen and ink, because that's what I've been working with and enjoying it immensely. And this box here has all of the different colors that I put into my tin, so these are the raw materials for those different colors there. So what I'm going to do is close my eyes. My eyes are closed. I know you can't see my eyes, but you're going to have to trust me that my eyes are closed here. And I'm going to draw out some colors. So I'm going to draw out that color. Alright, get 2 more. Draw out this color. And I'll get 1 more. Alright, and I'm going to draw out this color. Right, I'm going to open my eyes. Oh, interesting. Alright, so I have chosen bright orange, crimson, red lake, and cobalt blue. Okie dokie. Well, this is going to be intriguing. Alright, so the whole point of this process is to do something that gets you a little out of your comfort zone. And these are definitely not colors that I would normally use together. And I rarely even use cobalt blue, and I rarely even use crimson lake. And actually I noticed that I put this upside down from when I usually put it, so I'll just rotate this around. And you can see that my previous challenge was done with purples, or I think it was a violet and a rose and a yellow. And that one was a little easier on me. So what I'm going to do is wet some paper towel. As much as I normally love to reuse these extra colors that I have left over, I need a spot for mixing. And it would not be fair to leave some leftover color there and to use it in this new project. Mostly got the purple up. There we go. Alright, so now we got some mixing there. I'm leaving the gold, silver, and bronze in the corner, not to use them, but because I find it useful to have little bits of those, because sometimes I like dabbing a little metallic stuff into my normal paintings, and I don't want to destroy that. Alright, so we've got orange. A key in painting is that the way that you think emotionally. Alright, hold on. I'll just wipe that up. Sometimes watercolors have a little bit of oil in them, and I actually thought about trying to shake this up, but I didn't know how much good that would do, but we'll give it a shot. Alright, see if that helped any. Oh, it's still pretty brown. There we go. Alright, so we got orange. Put it here. Here. Cobalt blue. Probably should have shaken it up after the orange experience. There's just some colors that do that. Cobalt blue. And Crimson Red Lake. And I use colors from a number of inexpensive sets. So the orange is from Reeves, and the Cobalt Blue and the Crimson Red Lake are from Royal Langle. I used to always call them Royal Langdon, but I'm pretty sure it's Langle. My eyes don't work well with little tiny letters anymore to try to read them. Alright, so step one. When you are working with colors, it's a good idea to see what the colors look like on the paper, because the way that they look there on their wet form is not necessarily what they're actually going to look like when they're on a piece of paper. And also, we want to see what these colors look like when they mix together, because we get to use all sorts of combinations of the different colors mixing, and to know how they mix is going to help a lot. So what I'm going to do is going to make nice big circles, overlap quite a lot. Alright, those are not very even, but you get the sense. We are being creative and relaxing here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put water in this first circle. My house is really dry, so if I tried to work with all three of these wet at the same time, it would dry before I get to circle number 2. So, it's just my challenge here. You might be able to do all 3 circles at the same time. So we're going to make this nice and wet, so we get lots of mixing of things. Well, maybe if I make it really, really wet, I can do all 3. Let's give it a shot. So the idea here is to get a sense of what these colors look like and how they blend together to make new colors, and that'll give us a range of possibilities to then think about what kinds of things we want to do. So whatever colors you choose, I would do some sort of a mixing and blending exercise. And you can do this with pretty much anything, with crayons or all different kinds of paints or pastels or anything. So you want to see what they look like on their own, and you want to see what they look like in a mix. Alright, so let's put the red over here. So we'll put it a little darker over here, and then we'll put a little lighter over there, and that way we can see. And it's okay that it's blending out like that, because we're going to want to have these blend. Alright, so we got a range of colors for that. Red. Let's try the blue. Alright, blue's a little on the thick side. The blue is not quite as flowy as the red is. But it seems to make a pretty nice purple over here in the middle. Sort of a dusky gray purple, not a vibrant purple. Right, and orange. Bright orange. And orange plus red makes sort of a gray, burnt orange kind of thing. And orange plus blue. This blue does just not want to spread it. You can see the orange tends to be a very solid type of color here. I'm going to have to try to paint the orange. Let's try making a little spot over here. See if we can get just a little bit of light orange to see what that is like. Yeah, it still comes out very dark. So that orange is a potent color. So that's good to know. Put the orange a little more in there. A little there. A little more of this red. Let's try to get this purple here. Here. Yeah, so the red is super powerful. Yes, the red overwhelms a lot in here. Let's try putting some more blue in. So it's sort of a dusky purple. Red plus blue plus orange ends up being an even grayer kind of color, which makes sense. When you start mixing multiple colors together, you generally head more and more towards gray. And this mixture of orange plus red turns into sort of a dusky orange red thing. And the whole orange plus blue is pretty much just a straight gray. Which makes sense because orange is red and yellow, and if you mix red, yellow, and blue together, you get a gray. But just more of a brown in there. We'll go for a brownish gray. Alright, so we have a couple colors to work with here. And then we have all the lighter blue plus darker blue, the lighter red plus darker red, and so on. Hey, Anne. So what I am doing is a 3-color challenge, but you are welcome to do whatever you want to do while you hang out with me for the morning. Alright, so now we have a sense of what colors can be made from our colors that we have randomly chosen. So now it is brainstorming time. Get a fresh piece of paper. So, like that. Orange and blue. So blue could be a sky. The orange and red could be flowers. So we could go with the traditional sky with flowers. Usually when I do flowers in a field of flowers, I don't put a sky in, I just let it be the natural color. But the blue can be so light that I should be able to do my normal style of painting and have a blue sky above it. So let me stick, as I'm thinking about this, a piece of cardboard under here so that as I go off the edge of the paper, I am not getting all over my desk. Right, here we go. Alright, ponder. We're going to do a field of flowers with a blue sky. We'll start with the sky because we'll want to get that a chance to dry before we go on and put flowers on top of it. And we want to make it really light. So first we're going to make the entire sky wet. You, of course, should do whatever you want to do based on whatever colors you drew. So if you drew 3 random colors and you drew purple and pink and lime green, then you might have a completely different idea of what your colors would lead you toward versus my experiment, which got me blue and crimson red and orange. And this is a cobalt blue that I drew as my random color. Alright, so we're going to go with a fairly light blue because the idea is that I'm going to put flowers on top of this, and I just want this to be a background. But I do want the blue in there somewhere because this is a 3-color challenge and not a 2-color challenge. Although I suppose one could say that if I added some purple in there, then I'd be using the blue as part of the purple. But I still like the actual blue in there. There are some people who say that you should never use a straight color out of a tube. You should always mix something in it to make it a little different and unique. And also that you want to have a range of colors, that you shouldn't use a straight color in general, that if you make a mixture of different things, then you have variations going through your work, which helps make it more realistic, because the sky generally isn't one exact shade of color. That is up to you. Alright. So we got the cat coming over. Oh, sweetie. You are such a good kitten. Yes, please don't step on the keyboard. Oops, careful. You're right over there. Alright, that's fairly light. In general, watercolors do tend to dry lighter than when they go on, but I want it to be a little bit of blue up here, so add a little more blue in there. Alright, got a blue sky. Just trying to get a hair off of there. Alright, blue sky. Next up, I like to make the bottom area of a field of flowers to use wet on wet, which means I make the paper wet and then I add in wet paint into it because it gives it that soft, fuzzy feel like an out-of-focus background. So next I'm going to use just plain water and paint the bottom in so that the bottom area gets wet. Bottom area. So the flowers I'm going to be putting in, I suppose I put in some red. I'm trying to think, do I really want red and orange flowers, or do I just want red flowers with orange accents? I think I might do that. So these are going to be soft and fuzzy, so I'm not trying to make anything too distinct. Just trying to give this sense that there's a bunch of flowers down here. And here, let's add in some blue to make a purpley color. So we make some flowers red and some of them more of this purpley red. So I think I like that better than adding in the orange, because that orange is just so bright. I think would really draw the eye. In general, I want them to lean that way, although it looks like at the moment they're all leaning that way. Well, we should be able to fix that. Let's try adding some little orange highlights in here. And if we go at them towards the right-hand side of the flower, that sort of gives that sense that they are looking aimed towards the right. The eye tends to assume things are symmetrical, and that if you're seeing that kind of side things, see how it sort of gives them a sense that they're going that way. Alright, and then we need stems, but we don't have a green, but what we do have is this orange-blue combination. So if we take a little bit of the blue, see a very stiff color apparently, and mix it down over here with the orange, this makes sort of a brownish color, and that could be used for stems. Alright, this brush is way too big for stems. So put that down and get a littler brush. A littler, better brush. There we go. Alright. So who knows what we'll do with that. We'll have to make a couple more of those so it looks less like a mistake, more like a part of the process. Alright. Leaves in here. Alright, we made this splotchy thing, so we're going to have to make one or two more so it's not the only splotchy thing in there. Go over here. Maybe more of a definition. You see how fast that's drying down there? That area down in the bottom is pretty much already dry. Alright, so now the splotchy thing doesn't seem quite as alone. Alright, I'd like to put more variations down there, but that is like pretty much already dry. So that's the challenge of a fast drying piece of paper. But that is alright. Alright. Clean off that brush. That brush. So now to make the larger flowers, the upper area is already dry, because that's the way this paper rolls. So now we can make the larger, darker, more distinct flowers. And again, I want them to aim this way towards the imaginary sun, which is up in this corner. So I'm watching my cat to make sure my cat does not come over. Cat in here. So I'm just rolling the brush around, create some sort of a flower shape. Hello, kitty. You coming to help? You are such a good kitty. Such a good kitty. Let's make a couple random flowers here. What are you doing? You are a good kitty. Alright, so I got a couple of flowers up here. That will be fine. And I want to give them a little bit of a darker inside of the petal area, so I'm going to take some of this little darker stuff, mix it with the red. My cat is climbing all over my chair. Grab it around the inside of the flower. Still a little wet, so it's going to flow a little bit, and that's okay. Alright, I'll try to get a dark area of this mix. Make some stems with. Kitty, do you even want to know where you're going? Psst, psst. Kitty. Kitty, I don't think there could be anything in there that I want you to be eating. Alright, well hopefully the cat is digging into my art supplies. Not sure just what the cat thinks it has found in there. I'm thinking with some of these thicker stems that the leaves should really be a little bigger to match with them. Alright, just give that a second. I'm going to take a comment. Alright. Put a little bit of darkness in the little connectors under the flower. Connect a little better. Alright. Get a little bit of dark and trace just on the underside of the leaves to get a bit of shadow. So with watercolor, a key reason that watercolors are light is because the light goes through, the light of the room goes through the paint, hits the white of the paper, and then bounces back out at your eyeball, which is part of why it has that nice glowing stained glass look to it. So that means the more paint layers you put on, the darker and darker that area seems because you are blocking the light from reaching the paper more and more. So even if you just take the same paint color and add another layer on there, it tends to make that area of the paper darker and darker and add in shadowing. So I'm just putting some extra of this dark on the left side and bottom side of some of the shapes here. because if I assume the sun's coming from that top right corner, then the sun would put bright spots on things on this side, and there would be darker areas on the things on that side, on the left-hand side. I'm also making the leaves a little pointier. Okay, that can look a little bit more of a point now. I'd love to hear in the comments how you guys are doing with your 3-color painting. Alright, so we got some flowers, got some stems. Now I'd also like to add a couple of seed pods, because that gives it more of a little garden look instead of everything being in the exact same state. And also, if I make these a little lighter, then we get a little bit more of the 3-dimensional stuff going on. These seem to be more like they're in the background. Alright, there we go. So we've got flowers leaning towards the light. Got some petal stuff going on. And we need more orange. Because we've only put in hints of orange. So we're going to grab a little more orange. Put it right in the middle. You see that red is just so bright that the orange is subtle against it, but that's okay. We don't really want it to be pumpkin orange in this scene. We just want it to be a highlight for that center point. Alrighty. Anything else we could add? You can start to go crazy about adding shading to the petals and all that other kind of stuff. But sometimes the more things you add to it, the more complicated it gets. And certainly there are times when you can take, 8 or 10 hours or more than that to sit there and add all sorts of little details to a painting and get the reality of it just right. But we are doing a creativity workshop here. So the idea is more just to get a sense of how this works and to try a couple of techniques and see where you go with them. And then a couple more things just to close out some of the white spots. So in general, I think that's it's a reasonably successful first attempt at finding a way to have red and orange and blue together in a painting in a way that reasonably works well. So you might not think of the stem color as being one of those three, but it came out of a mixture of them. So it's part of where doing these kinds of blending challenges helps you learn more about how these different colors blend and how you can make all sorts of different shades. When you blend more and more, then you can get ranges of colors, and that makes flowers look more realistic and pretty much anything look more realistic when you have a range of the purples instead of just squishing purple out into a bin and only working with the solid straight color. Alright, so let's slide these over here. Put that there.